Is 500,000 SWFTCOIN good enough for me? Personally, I would say yes, even though that's not financial advice and even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf. But the way to take a look at it is that if, let's say, SWFTCOIN were to go to the price of 50 cents during this born, then of course at that point, 500,000 SWFTCOIN would be worth $250,000. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, how is that even that much? Take a look at the prices of homes. They're very expensive. Also cars. I'm totally aware of that. But the way to take a look at it is that, first of all, that's a very good down payment for a home, in my opinion, even though, again, homes are very expensive indeed. But even besides that, I know some friends out there who have around $50,000 and even in some cases less than that. And they've been traveling around the world for around 2 years. And now, it's not like they're living this 5-star lifestyle, eating out at fancy restaurants, staying at 5-star hotels every day. They're not doing that. But still, they're able to travel, meet new people, have a good time, have new experiences. So really, the way to take a look at it is that, yes, in theory, homes, again, are very expensive, $250,000, depending on the area, of course. How can I even buy a home with that? But even besides that, when I take a look at how some people even are able to travel the world for quite a while with around $50,000, even less than $50,000, I don't view this as really so bad because, again, SWFTCOIN going to the price of 50 cents, if some people may think that's a little bit crazy, okay, let's say we tone things down. Let's say we take a look at 25 cents. Even that's not that bad because keep in mind, 50 cents is currently around a 32x from here. It had a pretty good pump. But you know what? I think it still has a ways to go. So if you think about it, 25 cents is still over a 15x from here. Kind of crazy to think about, actually. But yeah, that's just my point of view. Even besides that, why do I think SWFTCOIN could ultimately, hypothetically, go to the price of 50 cents? And that is because I think it's very special. It's even been stated that SWFTCOIN is powering the Swift blockchain and AI services, in this case, SWFTGPT. Now, I first want to explain how when it comes to Swift, it's spelled differently than the banking SWIFT, which is SWIFT. This one is SWFT. But even besides that, the name is very similar. Now, here's the thing. Some people may kind of laugh at SWFTGPT because they think, okay, this is never going to overtake ChatGPT in terms of popularity and whatever. But the way to take a look at it is that it doesn't really matter. Because in the world of cryptocurrencies, what people usually care about is the anticipation of something amazing. They care about the story, they care about the narrative. And when it comes to this, I do believe it has a big narrative because when we take a look at AI, ultimately speaking, I think it's very revolutionary. Granted, a lot of these AI-centered projects, they haven't been doing the best as of late, even though some are beginning to have a pretty decent recovery. However, even besides that, I still do believe that better days are ahead because, for instance, the AI market is predicted to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So when you think about that, that's a very massive amount. And I think better days are ahead when it comes to AI. And think about this, right? The GDP of Brazil, a very amazing country, back in 2024 was around $2 trillion. So this one, again, the AI market, I think that if anything truly puts into perspective as to just how massive it could hypothetically be in the very near future. Now, not to mention as well, if we take a look at it, the Swift blockchain combines AI innovation with blockchain infrastructure, simplifying crypto trading while enhancing functionality through SWFTCOIN. And also, it should be noted that the Swift blockchain is allegedly revolutionizing cross-chain swaps with AI-powered technology. Now, it's just all very fancy words, but ultimately speaking, I think this, if anything, of course, indicates that, hey, when it comes to SWFTCOIN, it could very well make a big impact in the AI space, not to mention, arguably, it's focused on the payments market and the global trade and finance market, which of course is two markets that something like Ripple, aka XRP, and Stellar, aka XLM, is focused on. So when I take a look at SWFTCOIN, it feels like a very complete package. Focus on the payments market, focus on the global trade and finance market, but also it has some of these aspects of AI, I would say, arguably. So this is what I like about it. Now keep in mind, the payments market is currently valued at over $2 trillion. Again, a very massive amount. And also we take a look at the global trade and finance market, which is predicted to reach up to $5 trillion in value by 2028, according to Mordor Intelligence. So really, when I take a look at SWFTCOIN, again, it's very special. It's a very simple and easy to understand project, in my opinion. It's not overly complicated. Sometimes I take a look at other projects out there. They just have too many layers. it's a little bit overcomplicated for no reason. I don't really like that. I like this though, because it's very similar again in nature to Stellar and Ripple, but then it has a way lower market cap, and I like the AI aspect, so it's a complete package. Now again, 50 cents if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would actually be exactly $5 billion. And if you take a look at it, SWFTCOIN, even though this doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but I'm going to mention this anyways, take a look at the supply of SWFTCOIN. The current circulating supply is 10 billion, like exactly, allegedly, of course. But when I take a look at something like that, that's very simple and easy to, kind of digest, I would say. It's very easy on the eyes, especially for me. The way to take a look at it is that, again, even though this doesn't necessarily matter, because we see a lot of projects out there with tokenomics that aren't even that simple or that clean, I would say, do very well. But still, when I take a look at something like this, I do like it. I just think it's a good touch. But even besides that, it just, something I want to mention. But again, a $5 billion market cap, why is this too crazy? We've seen Shiba Inu reach around $40 billion in market cap back in 2021. That year as well, we saw Dogecoin exceed $80 billion in terms of market cap. Not to mention, take a look at XRP. XRP currently has a market cap that is over $100 billion. Not too long ago, it was around $150 billion actually. So the way to take a look at it is that, is this too much to ask for during a fully fledged bull run? I'm not saying tomorrow, I'm not saying next Tuesday or in the next 2 Mondays. I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying during a peak of a bull run. I don't see why not, really. Now, again, this is all speculation, but again, 50 cents, like I mentioned earlier on the video, is around a 32x from here. So yeah, I just don't think that this is impossible, at least in theory. Now, we have to take a look at why do I still think there's a ways to go. It's because usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. That's why I'm paying more so attention again near the end of this year. Now, this has just been a worst case scenario historically speaking. There is no telling this time around what it will do because, of course, the markets are going to be different, just a whole bunch of other factors. But the way to take a look at it is that I just don't see why this bull run is over. I mean, really, if you take a look at it, I think the better days are actually in front of us, not behind us, because some people think that the bull run is over, but I disagree with that because we currently have over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, so that's more than ever before in history. So I think that's a very big deal, especially when compared to back in 2021 when there was only around 300 million crypto owners during the peak of that bull run. So I think this time around it could just be a lot more special. But again, only time will tell, and I'm staying patient because that's the only thing I can control. Accumulating, holding, and just waiting, that's it. So ultimately, I'm going to stay patient, but when people ask me, hey, is 500,000 SWFTCOIN good enough? Now, it's very subjective, of course, I'm totally aware of that, but personally for me, I think it's good enough, especially if SWFTCOIN hypothetically were to go to the price of 50 cents. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm on. Peace. Bye.